I'd like to take a minute to talk about one of our sponsors, Parker Sporland and Thermostatic Expansion Valves. How can you guys always have the right thermostatic expansion valve for the right application without having to carry hundreds of valves in your truck? Well, that's simple. Using Sporland's interchangeable cartridge style valves. The Q valve for conventional and the BQ valve for balance port. It's as easy as one, two, three. It serves thousands of unique applications. So, one, you just select the thermostatic element for your application. Two, you select the body style you need. Three, you select the right size cartridge for the application. These easy to select and assemble valves mean you always have the right valve for the job on your truck. For more information on the Q and BQ valves, visit Sporland.com. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the episode.
We've all been there, in the middle of a job, everything going smoothly, until boom, you're missing a part. United Refrigeration is your one-stop shop for all your refrigeration needs. Use your computer or smartphone to go to www.uri.com at any time of the day or night to check stock on your favorite brands, such as Copeland, Sporland, Carlisle Compressors, Danfoss, Emerson CPC boards and sensors, Carrel, Hussmann Parts, and K2Therm. United Refrigeration Inc. is home to these brands and many more. Looking for information on refrigerant conversions or refrigerant banking? Quick access links on the homepage can get you to the information you need. All approved accounts are able to see live to-the-minute inventory and pricing. Product not in stock at your local branch? No problem. Use the Nearby Stock feature to find a local branch that does have what you need. Are you looking for a branch address, phone number, or after-hours number? That's all available as well. Just click on the branch locator and search for your local branch. Have a model number and looking for a replacement part? www.uri.com/ARP has a vast list of quick pick replacement parts. Just search for the model number of the equipment you're working on and click the Replacement Parts tab. If you don't have an account, click the Register button and we'll have you online in no time. With more than 400 locations in North America, each United Refrigeration branch is fully stocked for immediate pickup. Our branch employees have in-depth technical knowledge, so we can help you get what you need when you need it. Visit your local store or www.uri.com/ARP today. United Refrigeration Inc. has all your solutions down cold.
How we doing, everybody, and welcome to Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. You're here with your hosts, Brett Wetzel and Kevin Compass. What's going on today, man?
Oh, nothing much. Just enjoying the warm weather out here, and since we're both in Florida. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go over soft skills, basically. A soft skill that I think is important. Not so much a technical thing, but we're going to go over time management and how to be more efficient with your time management. So what I consider time management is how you actually manage your time, how you actually perform a job, how you actually get everything ready to perform a job, and actually performing the job. So what I want to go over today is how to increase efficiency. So this goes a couple ways. So when you're more efficient, you're more profitable. When you're more profitable, you can make more money. You know, when you make the company more money, you get to make more money. So this is how I teach time management, and I go about things. So time management, this could be anything from the way you set up your van to cleaning your van to the way you set up, performing jobs, compressor changeouts, evaporator changeouts, case cleanings, whatever you do. I mean, when I go about this, I think I'm a very efficient person when I'm working, the way I set everything up, and I've been, working more and more towards this and showing other people this. So just about everything in my van is set up for specific jobs. Meaning, so I have my van divided up, and I will have a vacuum kit. So say I'm going to pull a vacuum somewhere. I have an entire vacuum kit, meaning I have a pack out with my blue vac hoses set up in there. I have another pack out on top with Schrader cores, pullers, my vacuum gauge, extra caps, extra cores, all that stuff. So I could just literally grab that pack out, and I have all my vacuum stuff in it. So I'm not running back down to the truck 5 times to go get this. I'm not looking for a Schrader core that I dropped. I have, 100 in there. I'm not looking for caps that I dropped. I mean, I have brand new caps in there. And then I just grab a vacuum pump. I mean, if I'm doing, pipe fitting, I have an entire just pipe fitting bag. I have all my pipe fitting tools in there. So I have all my cutters, all my, measuring tools. I mean, everything is in there and is divided in the van into specific things. So like I have a compressor changeout rig. So if I'm doing a compressor changeout, I have an entire pack out box with pulleys, clevises, eyelets, lifting straps, mini come-alongs, chains. I have everything you need to change a compressor out in that pack out. So all I do is walk to the van, grab the pack out, throw it on my cart, and away I go. My entire van has been, set up like this. So it allows me to grab kits and divide things into kits in order to efficiently and effectively do these jobs. I mean, I'm not looking for things. I mean, so much time is wasted on jobs for guys looking things, going back to the van 5 times. I mean, that is little ways you could, improve to get that. I mean, Brett, what do you think?
No, I did the same thing. The only thing is when you start doing that, after a job, you do tend to spend a little bit more time, making sure it's reorganized, because otherwise, everything just gets tossed back in. Because, as well as I do, being a service tech, being a startup tech, you're trying to get, especially in the summertime, you're trying to get that stuff in, out, done, and then on to the next call. And as well as I have, and I've seen pictures of your van. At the end of the week, the end of the job, you got some organization to do for the next week.
So, my van never gets like that, really. I mean, here's the thing. Here's my philosophy on that. I get paid to take the stuff out of my van, and I get paid to put it back.
Agreed.
So, I'm going to do it on their time. I'm going to put everything back on their time, because why am I going to clean my van and put everything back on my time? I mean, I'm getting paid to put everything back, so I might as well put it back where it goes. So, I'm kind of a psychopath with that. Everything has its place. My van is probably overly done. I mean, every tool has a place. Everything's been, tool hangers everywhere. But in the same sense, setting it up and just cleaning it up and putting it away, 30 minutes at the end of the day prepping saves 2 hours in the morning.
So, because I've seen different pictures on different sites and stuff. So, you even have pack outs for your, let's just say your pipe wrenches.
I don't have pack outs for my pipe wrenches. I mean, I don't go that far, but I have a pack out for electrical kit. Mm-hmm. So I have a pack out set up for basically doing what I call new rack electrical work, meaning I'm adding a circuit, or I'm adding terminal blocks, or I'm cutting in solenoids. I have everything in there from reducing rings to switches to all the hardware I'm going to need, lights. Everything is set up in there. So if I'm adding a circuit to a new rack, I could grab his pack out, or if I'm, tying in something new, I can grab his pack out. It literally has everything from terminal blocks to terminal block ends. I mean, everything is in this kit. I grab it, I walk in the store, I can knock the new circuit out real quick, and I'm done. Or I have a pack out with just electrical fittings, like spades. Everything's in there. I can just grab that, walk in, and go.
So you're talking about saving time. I mean, so even for an apprentice, because I know you being in the field for the amount of years you've been in there, on a service call, you probably only take minimal stuff. Or do you take your whole damn bag in there with you?
So what I've done, and I just started doing this 2 years ago, I have 2 tool bags. I have a bag that I use for, I call my general bag. If I'm doing a compressor change out, or I'm doing startup, I'm going to have that bag. It's got all my main tools in it.
Okay.
Then I have a throw over shoulder Vito bag, a TP4, that I throw it has a 6-in-1 amp clamp, fluke amp clamp meter, basic pliers, some wrenches, stuff to do like a general service call. I could change a fan motor out with it. I could diagnose an oil pressure issue. Like I carry 2 Fieldpiece pressure transducers in it and 2 Testo temp clamps. So I could set superheat with it. It is a general bag. It is probably more than most guys carry, but on a general service call, but I throw that over my shoulder. It's 15 pounds, and that's what I'll walk in the store with.
See, I'm lazy. I'll carry just a wrench, service wrench, an 11-in-1, 6-in-1, whatever you want to say, and basically just it's my diagnostic bag. It's basically big enough just to fit on my hip. Go in there, figure out what I'm gonna need, because if eventually you're gonna need some sort of part or something, right? So you're gonna go back out to your truck at that point. Okay, I know I'm changing out a fan motor, so I'm gonna need this. You know what I mean? And that was the way I was taught. Like, the guy that taught me refrigeration was like, go in there real light, figure out exactly what you need, then come out and, grab your tools and the rest of your parts you're going to need.
I mean, it also depends what I'm working on. Am I looking at an oil fail that we've been there 4 times for? No, I'm going to bring my general bag in, and I'm going to bring a bunch of my tools in just at once on my cart.
I got you.
It just depends. If I'm going to look at a case running warm, I'll just grab that bag because it's only like 10 pounds, so I don't really care. I'll just grab the bag real quick. I mean, I used to just grab a couple tools, but then I find myself going back to the van for no reason. I'm going back to the van to grab a meter now, or I'm going back to the van to grab, a 9/16 wrench. Well, I just wasted 10 minutes of time. Yeah, it doesn't seem like much, and if you're building a customer for it, it's fine, but at the same time, when you're more efficient, you can spend more time on diagnosing and looking at the whole problem than walking to the van, and you're getting more value out of it. You're able to spend more time on the actual issue and then seeing other issues. So there may be more issues than just that, and you're able to find more work that way, and you're able to do it more efficiently. But and then, for example, when I go into a service call, we don't use grocery carts in Chicago at all. It's been the big circle banned it from everybody, and then it just slowly trickled down.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys hated it at first. I love it. I love having a service cart. I hated it at first, but I find that working off a service cart is 1,000 times more efficient.
See, my problem with that is that it actually ended up becoming like a junk drawer.
It does.
We're basically, well, shit, I got some extra stuff in my pocket. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to throw it on the cart. I'll put it away later. And I've seen sometimes so I had a metal cart that I would just, basically strap to the side, had stuff hanging from it. I even had a damn cup holder on it. But, like I said, I found myself storing stuff. Now I do know they make some folding carts, so you're less likely to do that because you're basically folding it up each time to put it away, right?
So I have the folding cart too. So I take the folding cart on the roof. So I have this folding cart off Amazon. It's like a 3-tier cart. So we use that. Actually, an apprentice showed me this, and we're using that on the roof. So if I'm going on the roof and I say I got a huge job to do, I will take that 3-tier folding cart. I will use that, or I use the wagon. So I have a collapsible wagon from Walmart in my truck for $40.
Okay.
Best $40 I ever spent. I'll use that wagon all the time on the roof. It'll go right over gas lines. I could throw a compressor in there, my torches, my vacuum pump, all my tools in there. If I'm doing a rooftop job, I get everything on the roof at once. I throw everything in there. Okay, I go to do the job at the rack or the rooftop. Now, this is where the time management thing comes in. So, okay, I get everything over there. Now I'm doing it. I got the gas out of the unit. I start to repair. I start pulling a vacuum. Okay, now I'm not pulling through my gauges anymore because that is the biggest time waste out there. I'm using dedicated vacuum hoses, and that's speeding up the process. While this is happening, I'm slowly taking things back downstairs. So every time I'm done with the job and I'm waiting for something to cool off or I'm waiting for something to pull a vacuum, I am taking components and stuff back downstairs. I'm taking the compressor down. I'm taking the recovery machine down.
So like I'm right on the same page with you. The only thing, like, I'm always a worry wart where, like, basically if I take my torches down, Murphy's Law says that I'm gonna end up having a leak. You know what I mean?
You never take the torches down because you end up the torches go down when the unit starts back up. Because if you take the torches down, you're gonna get screwed. Yeah. It's just the way it always falls.
It's Murphy's Law, man. It happens every single time. We're like, oh no, I checked that joint. No, we're good. No, we're not. You know.
I mean, so yeah, leave the torches out there till you're ready. Till you're ready. You know you have a good vacuum. But like just bringing things down as you're done with them, like that, I find that to be a huge time savings. I watch guys and apprentices do this all the time. They'll wait till they're done. They'll, say they're working on a rooftop unit. They put a compressor in. They get it all started up. They get it all charged up. Now at the end of the job, they have this huge mess to clean up. It takes them an hour to clean everything up and get everything back down. When in all reality, it could have taken them 15 minutes to clean up and get out of there because they would have already had everything down.
Yeah.
Now another big time saving thing is I will carry a rope with a pulley, okay? And I hook the pulley with a clevis or a clip around the roof hatch lock. And I will use that to rope things up. I'll use the pulley. So I'll pull everything up with the pulley because it reduces the amount of work you need to do when you're pulling things up.
Yeah.
I mean, just be gentle on the roof hatch. I mean, if you see it, don't be lifting a 120-pound compressor up with it. But, like, if you're lifting your vacuum pump, your torches, I mean, you could pull that up so much faster with this pulley, and it's safer because you're not lifting it straight up and on your back. You're pulling down with this. And if you have an apprentice downstairs or somebody else downstairs with you, it's even better because they could be pulling down and everything's going up. And you're using the full force of that pulley to make your job easier. Jeremy Smith taught me this. I mean, watching him do this with the pulleys and stuff, like, until I fully learned this and actually went through it, it is so much easier using pulleys, blocking pulleys to do stuff. Like, I mean, it's the most underrated thing in our trade is rope and pulleys. Your life is so much easier once you learn this, how to manipulate pulleys and ropes to actually do lifting. I mean, getting all that stuff up there, it goes quick. And then the other thing is, like, a lot of guys I work with, we have meat hooks. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the ropes, we have a meat hook on there. Yeah. So that meat hook, most of the time, if I set everything up on the ground, I can fish my stuff up. I can grab the recovery machine with it. I can grab the torches with it. I can grab my tool bag with it, my lifting gear with it.
And that way you could just be up on the roof and just, be legitimately like a fishing for your tools. You know what I mean? Hooking it up through there. No, I get it. I mean, so... And you can adapt stuff too. I mean, you could basically, if your reclaimer wouldn't be something that you could easily do, you could hook something on it, like, some sort of strap on there that you're going to use to hook up to it, so you can fish everything up all at one shot instead of having to go back downstairs. I usually when I have a rope, it's double the size. So basically I can, at the very, very end, I can tie something up on one end, tie something up on one end, and then basically lower both down. So I don't have to go up and down because that's a killer, man. That's exhausting. Especially, if you've been up at, one of these roofs called Shmamishwan, they basically, that's usually 3 stories. The ladder's exhausting going up. And, so being able to do that is just incredibly easy.
Yeah, I mean, using the rope and pulleys are a killer time saving. And then just getting everything up and down the roof efficiently. I find more time is wasted getting things up and down the roof efficiently and getting things across the roof efficiently. That's where, like, the wagon comes in, or the 3-tier cart. I mean, it just depends what I'm doing when I'm bringing it up. If I'm working on a rooftop unit and it's super far away, I'm going to bring the wagon. I'm going to throw everything in the wagon. The wagon handles the roof a lot better. And in the wintertime, I have a sled. I just take what would be one of my kids' sleds or an ice fishing sled. We take an ice fishing sled, we throw everything in there, and we use that to transport stuff across the roof.
I had a boss get mad at me the one year because I bought a sled. I was at Home Depot buying a whole bunch of stuff. We were doing a heat exchanger on a Munters unit, which I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're not only they're stainless, but they're huge, freaking heavy as hell. I mean, because they are huge. So I bought a sled and I put it on the Home Depot receipt. He's like, man, I'm not buying toys for your kid. And then I, showed him the picture of basically putting the heat exchanger on this thing to yank it across the roof because it was in Connecticut, and then, basically you're dealing with nut high snow on the roof.
I mean, we've put a 6-cylinder Bitzer compressor on an ice fishing sled, and to two apprentices were able to pull the sled across the roof with me, and it worked perfect. So we used that ice fishing sled to move everything across the roof. I mean, and it worked good. So, I mean, just use your brain, and I mean, it's always easier the more you get used to this and start doing it and managing your time better. Like finding little things to do these jobs. Like so, can we get back to the service cart? Yeah, I end up throwing a bunch of stuff on my cart too. I mean, it ends up being a trash collector, but you got to be good about cleaning it up, keeping it clean, because I'll tell you this: there's nothing worse than that thing tipping over in the parking lot. And it happened to me like 2 months ago, and I'm talking that thing had the most crap on it because we were busy. So I was probably doing 2 or 3 case startups a day at different stores, so I had stuff all over it. I hit a pothole, and that thing went over. And I have probably not cursed that much in a long time. And it was snowing, and I'm trying to find everything in the snow. So...
And it's all stuff that you put in there and you put in your pockets for a reason, like random fuses on shit that you pulled off that you found that you're like, I'm gonna use that, and then all of a sudden, now that big storage thing that was in the back of your van is either in the back of your van laid over. One of the best things that I've used and collected over the years is, if anyone's ever done construction, when Hill Phoenix sends out their cases, they have these black, pull straps that they use to basically secure the cases either together or, against the trailer and the tractor trailer. And I probably have, no lying, probably 60 of those things, because either hanging hoses, hanging refrigeration hoses, hanging gauges, keeping everything strapped in, parts, like even with when I was in a truck, with doing service work, basically I had all these, Tupperware bins that were basically, that had housed all my parts, and would strap across just to make sure none of that shit would come sliding out, because that's the worst. My van, I can't stand when you have shit shaking around in the back, so that was one pet peeve of mine, so everything was strapped down so I didn't have to hear it while I was driving.
So on the actual cart, so my cart is set up how I do work. So I have, a pack out plate strapped to the front of it, and I have 2 mini pack outs in the front. So I keep general stuff in there, electrical connectors, screws, 5/16 self-tappers, quarter self-tappers, stuff that I don't have to run back to the van to go get a screw. It's already on the cart. I'll keep, TXV screens in there that are already cleaned that I'll have, so that way, I'm not going back to the cart. I'm not going back to the truck to grab a thing of degreaser. I already have a clean screen in the cart. I could swap it out. Boom, I'm done. I'll clean the screen later, and I'm good to go. Or all my brass fittings are in there. Quarter flare, Schrader caps, Schrader cores, basic stuff that we use all the time. I keep in the cart on the 2 pack outs. Now this is where it's nice. So say I'm setting my cart up. I have the pack out plate on there. So if I'm going to do a job, say I'm going to do an evacuation, and I have to grab all my stuff, and I'm putting everything in my cart. So I will actually stack pack outs in the front of the cart. So I'll clip pack outs to the front of it. So then I can fit everything on the cart more efficiently. I can fit the recovery machine. I can fit the vacuum pump on the bottom. I can fit my torches on the top. I have my vacuum kit hanging off the front. I have any electrical kits hanging off the front if I need to. I've had it 3 pack outs wide on the front. As long as there's enough weight in the back, you're fine. Now, this allows you to bring everything in at once, everything in efficiently, and then you could set the job up efficiently for what you're going to do. It's all about pre-planning. What am I doing today? Okay, I'm going to need my vacuum kit. I'm going to need my recovery machine. I'm going to need some cores. I'm going to need these parts I'm going to put in, my torches, and then all set up, and then you have your cart all set up. Depending on the cart, I buy these Amazon carts. They're Suncast, I think they are. They're probably the best carts I've ever found. They handle the weight the best. They're manufactured really good. The wheels on them are tough, so that's what I use. They make the folding cart too. That works out real good. Now let's talk about the van setup. So Brett talked about setting everything up with Tupperware containers. Mine's the same exact way. So I have all my parts set up on the shelves, and everything is labeled. This is where the OCD comes in a little bit. So I set my truck up so I could send an apprentice down that I'm working with. Hey, go get this 3rd shelf. Look for the labeled bucket. everything is labeled. So, I mean, I can send a guy down to go get something out of my truck, and he's not looking for it. That's my big thing.
So how are you with saving stuff? Like, because when I was out in the field, like if we demoed an old rooftop unit, we demoed an old case, we demoed, you know what I mean? No matter what we demoed, I'm out there at the scrap pile just picking shit off. I'm like, oh, dude, fuse block, I'm going to use that. Fuses, I'm going to use that.
It honestly depends what it is. Like if it's some like off the wall stuff that like, boards, if I'm taking the rack out, yeah, I'm going to scrap the boards out of it because we're going to use them like construction, or there's going to be a time that somebody leaves a door open on a rack on the roof and everything gets wet, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, I have all the boards.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that, but I'm not taking case fan motors, brackets.
No,
I'm not taking stuff like that. I'm not scrapping out fuse blocks. I'm not taking electrical components like that. Like
fuse blocks I'll take because I've been screwed too many times where you have one burn up and you can't get that particular one, especially like the ones that they use for the VFDs, the slow blow.
I've never had that problem.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're in a bigger city.
So generally by us, like for some reason, Granger always has fuse blocks and fuses up by us. So I never really save electrical components like that, but like other stuff, like I may save some. I used to work with this old guy. I mean, he would call it save your ass parts. This guy would save every single thing. He'd be saving TXV parts. He must have had like 40 valves in the back of his truck that he changed out that he would just grab parts off of. Like, the man had 2 buckets that had to have weighed 90 pounds of brass. I mean, he had every brass fitting you could ever need, but he's been saving them for 35 years.
It's his retirement bucket.
Yeah. I mean, he called them save your ass parts.
Yeah, no, I get it. And like it sucked because like whenever we did inventory, like I would mark like the save your ass Tupperware containers with yellow tape, and I'm like, okay,
do not touch.
Yeah, you can inventory everything because they'll see it and they're like, well, this is trash. We don't have a part number for this, and all of a sudden it starts getting tossed out. I'm like, no.
Trash is treasure.
Yeah. So so basically anything with yellow, don't touch. Just let me deal with that, inventory all the rest. Today's episode is sponsored by the new Reefer Shield differential pressure monitor from Westermeyer Industries. When the filter element of your coalescing oil separator is contaminated, it can hurt your system's performance and efficiency. But how do you know when it's time to replace that filter? Wait too long to replace and you could end up with a nasty filter blowout. But replacing too often can be a waste of time and money. The answer is installing a differential pressure monitor. The new Reefer Shield RDP-01 differential pressure monitor is available now from Westermeyer Industries. To find out more information, email sales@westermeyerind.com. That's sales@westermeyerind.com.
So the way, like back to the way I set my van up. So like I will set up everything in Tupperware containers with labels on them. So like I will have a thing of contactors. This bin is 115 volt contactors. This bin is 208 contactors. This bin is 24 volt contactors. This bin is relays. This bin is time delays. Like I will set everything up like that, and then I have I will have other bins on the other side. Okay, this is power heads. This is my spare fan motors and voltage. I'll set them up so that way these guys can look in the van and just grab this if it's not me going there. So we're not wasting 10 minutes looking through my van, looking for stuff. And then I actually took, my van's a little bit much, but I took pack-out plates and I mounted them on slides. So the back sides of my van, the back shelf where stuff always falls out, there's pack-out plates blocking it. So you could grab the pack-out plates, slide them back, okay, and then all my ball valves are behind there. All my solenoid valves are behind there. And on the other side, my evacuation kit's behind it. And then on the pack-out slides, I have my heavy tools. I'll have my brass fittings and recovery pack-out. So I have an entire pack-out with just brass fittings, recovery stuff. Like,
how many pack-outs do you think you actually own?
Probably like 30.
Jesus.
But I got a screaming deal on them. So you got to watch on Black Friday. If the Milwaukee guys in there, you can get killer deals. But like, I built them up over time. I mean, and to be honest, they were worth every penny because they make your job so much easier.
Yeah, if they're saving you time, they're making you more valuable because you're being more efficient with your job, which means you can hammer out more calls, which means, your boss will pay you more.
And to be honest, there's a certain customer that orders compressors from a certain supply house, and that certain supply house throws a pack out with every compressor you order.
Oh, damn.
Which I'm not gonna say it because I'm not gonna say who it is because I don't want it to stop.
You know, your inbox is gonna blow up after this podcast gets released.
And the customer orders the compressor, so it has nothing to do with the contractor. So, like I will set up my evacuation kit. Now, this is something that, like, it took me a little bit of time to build up. So I have a pack out with my evacuation kit. Now, in that evacuation kit, I have no hoses in there, but what I keep is a ton of brass fittings. So I have 1/4 inch to 3/8 unions, so flare-to-flare unions. I have 3/8 to 1/2 inch flare-to-flare unions. I have 1/2 inch to 5/8 flare-to-flare unions. I have a ton of brass fittings, like male pipe thread to flare fittings, because you never know when you're gonna need to thread something in. I have a ton of hose adapters. I have like 10 or 12 tank adapters, 3/8 and 1/4 inch tank adapters. I have these Appion makes these Speedwise, which they are great. If you haven't checked them out yet, check them out. Appion has them. I think True Tech Tools is the only place I've seen them, but they're Speedwise. So it's a Y, but it'll go 3/8, 3/8, 3/8. So 2 male 3/8 down to female 3/8. They have a 1/2 inch female to 2 3/8, and they have a 1/4 inch to 2 3/8. So this allows you to use bigger hoses and pull from multiple spots.
You know what? I've seen those at United. I know what you're talking about. They used to be plastic, right? And then they turn them. They're metal now.
No, these are brand new. These are just straight metal. They're they're Speedwise.
Okay.
They're actual. It's a aluminum block that they put on. And then I also have an air compressor block. It's made for an air compressor, like tool distributor.
Yeah.
So I have 3/8 taps on there and a 1/2 inch tap. So I could pull 6 3/8 taps at once. So if I'm recovering a rack or if I'm doing a condenser and I'm pulling from multiple spots, I'll bump it up to 3/8 hoses, and then I'll put core pullers on, and I'll pull, and I'll adapt the core pullers to 1/4 inch to 3/8 with flare unions. And now I'm able to pull off 3/8 hoses. Yeah, it's a 1/4 inch core puller, but I'm pulling all that volume from the hose.
Yeah.
So I have that all set up. So that evacuation kit, I mean, that thing saves time. But at the same time, I bring that in the store. I'm not looking for an oddball fitting. I have it already, and I keep it stocked up. So one thing I found, like CO2 racks, all these guys are wasting all this time pulling vacuums when the manufacturer gives them a bunch of 1/4 inch ports. There's no 3/8 ports.
Yeah.
Okay, I pull the reliefs.
Oh, really?
I pull the reliefs out. I thread in a 1/2 inch MPT to 1/2 inch flare fitting, and now I'm pulling vacuums off that. I have saved so much time on jobs just doing that. I mean, we're getting vacuums done in half the amount of time that other guys are because we're pulling off 1/2 inch ports now instead of 1/4 inch ports. It's just stuff like that saves time. Looking ahead, okay, I could pull its relief out because I have this brass kit here. I already have all these fittings in here, and everything's ready. I have this relief kit. I could use, okay, I'm going to go to my kit. I'm going to grab a 1/2 inch fitting, thread it in there. Now I'm pulling a vacuum in half the amount of time. Or, like, I'm pulling off of, for example, we did a Tyler rack the other day. They had a 5/8 fitting, flare fitting on the receiver.
Oh, wow.
All of them do. They have a 5/8 flare on the receiver and the suction header. Okay, that nobody uses it because they don't have an adapter. Well, in my kit, I got a 5/8 to 1/2 inch adapter. So now I'm flying away. I'm pulling all the gas out in half the amount of time that somebody else would because they're using a 3/8 tap on the back of the rack. I'm using a 5/8 tap.
Yeah, and remember, like, your flow is also affected by other things. So, like, if you have a service valve fitting that has a Schrader in there, pull the Schrader. If it has threads in it, it actually pulls slower than one that doesn't have the fittings in there for a Schrader. So anything that you can do to basically reduce that time with that vacuum is just extremely helpful. Like, someone didn't actually believe me. They were filling up a rack. I told them to take the 3 or 4 cans, put it in downstairs. And, he was on there for probably about a good 40 minutes, metering the refrigerant through a Schrader. And I'm like, how much did you get in? Because I'm waiting upstairs, to see the receiver level. He's like, I haven't got the first can. And I'm like, pull the damn Schrader. Like, it's a no-brainer. You can fit a tank of gas in probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes, depending on if it's a low or medium temp rack, you know, if you take out that damn schrader.
I pull the schraders every time. I mean, if you're pulling a vacuum, pulling a vacuum with gauges is the biggest waste of time ever, okay? Yeah, you get paid by the hour. 90% of us get paid by the hour. That's great. Use your time to do something else. I want to get the job done as efficiently as I can. I want to go back home and see my family. I don't want to be stuck in a motor room wasting time waiting for a vacuum to pull through gauges when I could do it half the amount of time with core pullers and a dedicated vacuum rig. Or like charging, like Brett said. Dude, I pull the cores in the case. I'm not lugging cans up to the motor room. I'm not. Let's be honest.
I'm lazy.
It's slow. You're going to get hurt eventually carrying jugs up. Mm-hmm. It's going to take double the amount of time, make them pull a section of the case. And if it's got a hand valve there and a liquid schrader tap, amazing. Shut the hand valve off and jam it in the liquid line. No throttle, nothing. Just let it all rip through the liquid line. You know, if you're in a case. I mean, it'll go so quick because it'll suck it right through, and then it'll go through the evaporator, and it's going to evaporate. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. If there's only a schrader tap at the suction, I'm jamming it in there too.
See, if I'm at a rack store that has, you know, 2 different racks, you know, and I'm with an apprentice, I will make him take it up there to start, because I don't want him, you know, especially if you have 2 racks with 2 different gases, and, you know, he's an apprentice, so he doesn't know, you know, things to really look out for. I don't want him, you know, contaminating one rack with another because he, you know, decided to, you know, be the lazy way, like, you know, what we're talking about, and putting the wrong gas in the wrong damn rack.
Yeah, obviously that's a problem. So, I mean, you just got to be smart about it. And then, like, collecting, like, long hoses, 3/8 hoses. I mean, it is a pain to get contractors to pay for hoses. Let's just be honest here. I mean, try to bill them out in jobs. I'll tell you what, like, that is probably one of the biggest time-saving things that I have in my van, and I know you have it too. Like, I have a ton of 3/8 hoses. I have over 300 feet of 3/8 hose in my van.
I had a chiller at a chocolate plant in Pennsylvania, and I absolutely refused to carry everything up. I was changing out an expansion valve, so obviously I needed my reclaimer because you can't pump down a chiller fully. And I basically just ran, you know, a 3/8 line from the top all the way down, just so I wouldn't have to, you know, yank up my recovery cylinder. Even when I was going, you know, filling the damn thing with nitrogen, you know, I just had a hose up there and filling that up that way because I wasn't about to carry everything down. I mean, it's still doing the same damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys can find them and bill them out, I mean, bill the customer for it. I mean, it's a safety thing. A lot of times, then carrying jugs up. Get 3/8 hoses. I mean, find some. I have 1/2-inch hoses too, but I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I'm doing rapid recoveries of racks, and I'm not hiring a contractor to do it. I'm doing it myself. So that's where that comes in. Mm-hmm. But get some bigger hoses, get longer hoses. And then, I mean, ditch the gauges. Gauges, I know Brett is super old school about this because he's old. So, like, gauges. I don't have a single set of gauges in my van, and I haven't had a set of gauges in my van for 5 years. They take up space. They bounce around your truck. They get beat up. There's no point in having them. Once you learn to use probes or other stuff, using probes, I use probes and core pullers. I don't have to bring a set of gauges in with me. I throw a hose in my bag. I keep a 6-foot refrigeration hose in my Vito bag. And then on my quick diagnostic bag, I have like the TP4. I have it wrapped around the hanger in there. So like it's wrapped around the back of the thing, the bag. So I always have a hose with me. And I always have 2 core pullers. And I just hook the probes up to the core pullers. And if I'm charging or recovering, I use the core pullers. I could pull a circuit down in no time using core pullers to recover gas out of the rack. And when I say recover gas, I mean I'm sucking it back into the suction header. I could pull, we were just doing a job at this rack retrofit. I was pulling down a system in 5 minutes or less.
Oh, wow.
With core pullers. Like in 5 minutes or less, and that was all the way from the back of the store to the front of the store. Like the farthest case was 5 minutes.
So what? I mean, because I know you have that big bastard, that Nyvac vacuum pump.
I have not used it yet.
I was gonna say, what vacuum pump are you using when you're doing stuff on service work?
On the vacuum pump. So I had a Fieldpiece. I forget the model. It was the older 8 CFM. All the startup guys just got 10 CFMs.
Oh, okay.
Fieldpiece ones.
Yeah.
It is like 4 pounds lighter than the old one.
Oh, wow.
It is like 10 pounds lighter than a JB. Like it is half the weight.
Yeah.
They're great. So I use the Fieldpiece vacuum pumps. Now, the reason I like the Fieldpiece vacuum pumps is all the ports come off the side, and it's extremely easy to use dedicated vacuum hoses because they come off the side.
I was gonna say because you use all the blue
vac.
Yeah, the blue vac vacuum hoses. So I'm sure that's super easy for you to attach everything right up to the front.
Yeah, if you're using like an old school like JB, everything comes with that same port, so it's kind of a pain right there.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is like coming off the side, it makes it so much easier doing it that way.
Yeah.
So it just ends up working better because it's coming off the side. So like that's what I like to use, and it's small and it's light.
Gotcha.
I will say this though, the only thing that we've had problems with is the oil tipping out the back, because if the back port, if you're carrying it up and you're not careful, the oil tips out the back. So what we did is we got some garden hose shutoffs.
Yeah.
So we're able to shut off the garden hose.
Oh, to make sure it doesn't tip out.
Yes. The other thing it does is it keeps the oil fresh. So obviously the guys aren't changing their oil like.
See, I've never asked the question if vacuum oil, is hydroscopic. It is.
So, obviously they say you should change your oil every time you use the pump. Let's be honest, supermarket guys aren't doing that. Most of these guys are changing their oil when it falls over the back of the truck.
I
do a lot of brand new startups, so I have a deep understanding of vacuums and oil, and I can tell when it's going bad. That's the nice thing with a Fieldpiece pump; you can see it a lot clearer.
Kevin tastes it. He tests to make sure if it's still good or not.
When it starts tasting acidic, you gotta. But the thing is about the Fieldpiece pump is it's like barely any oil.
Tastes like a burnout.
So a gallon of oil will last me months.
Yeah.
2 months.
So I'm sure you have, because I've heard stories that you said, but the first time that you're pulling a vacuum on something and you see the oil turn like straight milky white is it's kind of scary. I had a thermal bank, Kramer thermal bank, the hot gas, and I had non-condensables in it, just something wicked. Everything was freezing up, and oh my God, I must have changed out that oil several times. Or if you have a chiller rupture, that's always real fun too. I've had where, basically the condenser water blew in, evaporator water blew in the evaporator. And I ended up having to plug that, but I was pulling vacuums for days. And because it was a time sensitive thing, they were like, we get it running. Well, there was still so much moisture in the system where basically it was creating snow in the suction screen in the back where the service valve is because of the Venturi effect it was doing. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, just pulling a vacuum efficiently is all about your setup, 100%. Pulling through gauges wastes so much time. I'm to the point now where I'm so anti gauges, like I don't want apprentices using them. Like I'd rather them get probes. I'd rather them learn on probes.
See, the thing is with me, like, because your shit does the superheat and subcooling calculation for them, and that's one of the only things like I kind of want them to learn, and that's where you and I,
it's basic math. Let's be honest.
I know, but
if you cannot do basic math, you're not gonna make it in this trade.
But I've had guys like brand new guys that didn't understand superheat and subcooling and have shit on the wrong.
Well, yeah, that's a problem, but like you got to beat that into them.
No, I get it.
If you can't do basic math, all these guys are like, oh, you got to learn superheat and subcooling. If you can't do math, it's addition and subtraction. That's it. If you can't do addition and subtraction, we got a problem. My 10-year-old could do addition and subtraction. Just learning where to put the probes. That's one thing. But I will say this: like, it makes guys more efficient.
Yeah,
it does. When you could set a lineup of superheats in an hour instead of 3 hours, the guy messing around with a gauge, going to each one, moving a gauge, moving a fluke temp probe. That's slow.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, that's slow. When you could do them all at once at the same time, using Measure Quick, that's quick.
So I meant to ask you, on the Measure Quick app, you can use one suction pressure transducer for 3 or 4 temperature sensors, right? So you can basically do a lineup all at once. Because someone asked me the one time, they're like, you don't put pressure gauges on every single case. I said,
no, that's pointless.
Not if it's on the same lineup, or if I'm diagnosing a problem where maybe there's like a pipe plug stuck or something, yes. But like if it's a system that's been running for a while, and I'm supposed to even out the temps in the cases, I'm going to put one pressure transducer on the lineup, because they're all being regulated by either an EPR or a CDS valve, something. So, I mean, I know I should have the exact same pressure unless it's like a severe problem.
So, yeah, so the Measure Quick app is great. I hounded them for like 6 years to make this work, and they finally did. So with Measure Quick, you could use Sporland, Testo, Fieldpiece. I think there's one more, UEI or something. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to them. I don't know if they have what they have, but okay, all those work in Measure Quick. Mm-hmm. Now, what you could do is you could assign a Fieldpiece transducer, you could assign a Sporland transducer, a Testo transducer. You could assign any of those transducers to that pressure for that evaporator, and then you could assign different temp sensors. Whether it be if you have Fieldpiece, you have 2 Fieldpiece ones and 2 Testo ones, you could use all 4. You could intermix tools together in order to get your readings. So now you're able to do 4 superheats at once, okay? And all of them are listed out with your superheat, and it lists midpoint for the evaporator. So the midpoint's already on there, but it's calculating superheat with dew point. So you have that midpoint and the dew point reading. So which is important. I mean, it gives you a little bit of insight to both. But I mean, obviously it's calculating that superheat for you. So now it's a lot faster. I mean, a guy is looking at that. I could open this valve a quarter turn, that valve a half turn. This valve is going to close a quarter turn. It makes balancing cases so much faster. And not only does that make you more efficient, when you're able to balance cases faster like that, you're possibly making more money for it. You're making more money for yourself, your boss, and you're making yourself more efficient. So this whole thing is just about efficiency. Like it's, from the way you set your truck up, to the way you have your tool bag set up, to the way you do jobs and grab materials for jobs. Like try to grab everything all at once and like try to minimize the trips back to the truck. That's how I do it. And like the Vito makes a real great bag of tote. Everybody made fun of me when I first got it. It looks like a purse. It's like a giant tote. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, after a week, like 5 guys that work with me all bought one, because it is the best thing ever, because you could literally jam this thing full of everything, and you could lift things up to the roof super easy. I put compressors in it all the time, rooftop compressors. I put them in the tote, I hook it up, I can rope them up the roof, I can grab a tote easy, and I can pull it out. It's great. So that thing, if I'm going on the roof, I'll slam it full of tools, parts, everything I need. And then I could grab that, and I can walk up the motorroom stairs with it, and I'm carrying 10, 15 things at once. Now I just saved myself from walking up and down the stairs, 6 times to grab all this stuff, because I put it all in this tote and I have a shoulder strap on it and I'm carrying it upstairs. It's all about making your life easier, but in the same time, you're making your life easier, you're putting less stress in your body, but you're also making yourself more efficient in the same sense. So it ends up being better for you and everybody else.
But most importantly, better for you.
Yes. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody wants to get home and see their family or do extracurricular stuff. They don't want to be stuck in a motorroom all day, every day. I mean, it's a miserable place.
Yeah, agreed.
So just being more efficient and just the way you lay out your trucks out, it doesn't have to be pack outs. It could be, they make all kinds of, Rigid makes them, Ryobi makes them, everybody makes them. So just look at it from the way you lay your truck out. Make your life easier. Make less trips. If you're trying to get a raise, this is the one way to do it. Become more efficient, become more effective, and then show yourself that you're actually, doing this.
Have that conversation with your employer too. I mean, just to tell them, what's my billable efficiency? I mean, there's so many KPIs, they'll be able to, figure that out, and just be like, make an agreement with them. Hey, if I increase my billable efficiency by 10%, I want, X amount of raise. I mean, that's a really good bargaining chip, because a lot of these employers, they dig numbers. Everything's KPI'd, collated, calculated. And sometimes this will give you the upper edge on trying to actually get a raise, instead of being like, I need a raise. Well, why? Because I'm working harder. Well, give me some numbers to prove it. Well, this is one way that you actually could.
Yeah, I'm working harder. Look, I've become more efficient. look, this is how I set up everything. This is how I'm doing these jobs. Look at my numbers. They look better. So everything looks better than it did before because I am now more efficient and more effective the way I do my job. I mean, it makes your life so much easier. Well, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right.